Hi, algebra students. It's Mrs. Vara here. I'm just going to do a few examples in your linear equation review book. So you have it before the quiz. Sorry, I'm not able to be at school today. We did topic 4 in class. I'm actually not going to do topic 5 right now. I will catch you up on that page when I return. So if you can flip over to topic 6. So this is vertical and horizontal lines. So you should remember those. Those are our vucks, are the vertical lines, and our hoys are the horizontal line. So here you're just graphing the line x equals -1. Remember, if your equation doesn't have an x and a y, then it's going to be a vertical or a horizontal. Every equation that has both an x and a y, like this one back here on topic 4, will be a slanty or a diagonal line. So when you see just an x or just a y, that'll be a hoy or a vux. So this is a vux because it has an x, which means it's a vertical line. That's what the V stands for, and the slope is undefined. So we want to do a vertical line that goes through x equals -1. So that would be that one right there. And then a hoy, it's got a y, so it'll be a hoy, which means it'll be a horizontal line. The equation will be y equals, like we have right here. So we just need to put a horizontal line through y equals 4, which would be right here. Then down on the bottom it says, what is the slope of the line in number 1? Well, that's a vux. So that means that the slope is undefined. And number 2 was a hoy. Graph number 2 was a hoy. So that means that the slope is 0. Remember, horizontal lines we say is like the floor, so the slope is 0. Vertical lines we say is like the wall. You can't walk on a wall, so the slope is undefined. Okay, this is like a beginning of chapter 4. Write an equation, write a linear equation. So that's going to be your slope-intercept or your point slope, given the point and the slope. So when I look at this point, this is not the y-intercept. So I cannot use slope-intercept. Remember, slope-intercept requires a slope and that special point where the x is 0. If the point they give you does not have an x that's a 0, then you have to use point slope. So this will be y minus, plug in your y, equals m, which is -4. Remember, slope is m. X minus x. So, right, this is your x sub 1, your y sub 1. This is your m. On this paper that I just showed you, that thing I've been calling the bubble sheet, the y, the m, and the x are where you fill in your values. Now, one more step on this one. When you have minusing a negative, you do need to write that as a plus. Otherwise, you will lose a half a point on the quiz. Okay, so you should try this one on your own. Okay, topic 8 was exactly like what we did in the warm-up the last 2 days. Write a linear equation. What do you need to write an equation of a line? You need a point and a slope, or an m. Okay, we have 2 points. I will probably use this point, the one with no negatives. The slope I have to calculate using the slope formula. So remember, draw your template so you don't miss these negatives. And then you want to put your y's on the top. So 6 and 1 are my y values. -2 and 3 are my x values. Okay, 6 minus 1 is 5. Negative and another negative make a bigger negative, so that makes -5. So your slope is -1. -1. Okay, so I'm going to put m equals -1 over here. Again, neither one of these points are the y-intercept, so I have to use point slope form. So y minus My y value is a 1 equals m x minus 3. Okay. For this one, I'm going to have you practice, and I should have added this in the beginning. I'm going to say write a linear equation in slope-intercept form. So this equation that I just wrote, we want to do some algebra on this. So we get y alone. So if we're writing it in slope-intercept form, remember the equation needs to look like y equals stuff, y all by itself. So we're going to draw a line here and get y by itself. So please excuse dear Aunt Sally, or PEMDAS says you must do parentheses first. So this will be negative 1x. Negative times a negative is a positive, so that will be plus 3. Y minus 1. Remember, I want y alone. To undo minus 1, I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So y equals negative 1x plus 4. Okay, so that is slope-intercept form, where y is by itself equals mx plus b. Okay, this one you should try on your own, and what you should get for that one is, I'll put the answer, but you should try it on your own. Y equals negative 2/5 x plus 3. So slope-intercept form. Okay, parallel and perpendicular lines, these were ones that were missed a lot on the first quiz. So I want you to add a couple notes up here, some reminders that parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines, long word to spell. Perpendicular lines, the slopes are what we say opposite, reciprocal. Okay, so what that means is when you're finding the slope of a perpendicular line, you need to change the sign and flip the fraction. So for example, if you had a slope that was 3, the slope of a perpendicular line, change the sign. So this is positive, it would become negative, and flip it. 3, if you flip it, is 1/3. Because any number, you can add a 1 to the bottom. So we'll look at one like that right down here. The first one says, give an example of a line that is parallel to this line. So this line, this equation right here is in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So I know my slope, or my m, is 3. So if I wanted to write an equation of another line, a different line that's parallel to this one, I just write an equation where my m is 3, same slope, and then I can just put whatever y-intercept I want. You could also put no y-intercept. You could just put that. Well, actually, that's not no y-intercept. That's a y-intercept of 0. Okay, now perpendicular. Remember, 2 things have to change. So write this in your notes. Change sign. And number 2, flip. That's actually take the reciprocal. Flip the slope. Okay, so the slope of this line, this is in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, y all by itself. The slope of this line is 2. So the slope of my new line, change the sign, so positive 2 becomes negative. 2 becomes 1/2. That's the flipping. So an example of a line perpendicular to this one would be negative 1/2 x, whatever we want to put on the end, minus 6. We're just making up an example of a line that's perpendicular to this one. So we only need to change that slope. 2, positive 2 becomes negative. 2 is the same as 2/1. So if I flip that, I get 1/2. Okay, now this says write an equation of a line parallel to this line that passes through this point. So what do I need to write an equation of a line? I need a point. They gave me that. And I need a slope. So this is the information I'm going to use for my new line. It's parallel to this line. This is y equals mx plus b. So this line has a slope of 2. So my new line will also have a slope of 2. And now I just need to write an equation of a line with this point and this slope. So I'm going to use point slope because this is not the y-intercept. Y minus y, which is 1, equals my slope 2. X minus, my x is negative, so that would be negative 3. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in slope-intercept form just so we can continue to practice that skill. The first thing I want to do is minusing a negative is a positive. So I'm just going to turn that into my giant plus sign, which I think some of you are just doing it right in your notes that way. And then distribute the 2. So multiply the 2 by the x and the 2 by the 3. I would get 2x plus 6, y minus 1. Okay, let's get y alone. Add 1 to both sides. Y equals 2x plus 7. All right, so make sure that is in your notes. All right, the next one, write an equation again for a new line that is perpendicular to this line. Ooh, we got a little problem here. This line is not in slope-intercept form. Notice this one had y by itself. This one doesn't. So the first thing I need to do is before I can find the slope of this line, I need to solve that for y. I need to get y by itself. So I'm going to minus that 4x from both sides. And I get 3y equals negative 4x plus 6. Remember, I like to write the x term first because I know that's where my slope will be. And now divide every term by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I have y by itself. Just leave that just like this. 4 on the top, 3 on the bottom, times x, that's your slope, plus 2. Okay, now the slope of this is my given line, is negative 4 over 3. So the slope for my new line will be the opposite reciprocal of that. So to write an equation for a new line, I need a point. They gave it to me. Negative 8 and negative 5, and I need a slope. I don't want to use the same slope because my line needs to be perpendicular to this line. So this is negative, my slope will be positive. This slope is 4 over 3. My slope will be 3 over 4. And now we can write an equation. Y minus, my y is negative 5, equals m. That's my 3 over 4. X minus negative 8. Okay, remember wherever you have that minusing a negative, you want to turn that into a positive. So make that a giant plus. Okay, and let's put this final answer in slope-intercept form just to practice that. So 3/4 times x and 3/4 times 8. That would be 3/4 x plus 6. Remember, if you're not sure, just put that in your calculator. 3/4 times 8. And then over here I have y plus 5. Minus 5 from both sides. Gets me a 0 over here, so y by itself. Ooh, that's not very neat. 3/4 x. 6 minus 5 is 1, so plus 1. Okay, so make sure you have that in your notes. And then I think we're going to save those last 2 examples for when I return, but I wanted to make sure you had these examples before you take your quiz.